It's Tuesday, the 6th of August, 2024. Welcome to the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 stories to get through in 5 minutes. Let's get going. Story number 1 is a huge one. The S&P ASX 200 tumbled 3.7% yesterday. Its worst one-day sell-off in more than 4 years as rising US recession fears hit global markets.
In the last 2 sessions, the market's down 5.5%, with yesterday's tumble matching some of the worst sessions during COVID. Close to $100 billion was wiped off the market yesterday. The banks led the way, with Commonwealth Bank and Macquarie Group tumbling more than 5%. National Australia Bank, Westpac and ANZ all dropped more than 4%. Interest rate-sensitive stocks were sold off hard. Property giant Goodman Group fell nearly 7%. WiseTech Global was off 9%. The sell-off follows weak economic data in the US and fears that the economy is heading for recession. The stocks less tied to the economic cycle, healthcare, consumer staples like the big supermarkets, did best, albeit they ended lower. Only 3 companies finished the day higher yesterday, meaning 197 companies in the top 200 went backwards. Those 3, for trivia buffs out there, ResMed, Domino's Pizza and gold miner Northern Star.
Sean, how bad is it? Can we expect to see more selling?
Well, let's get some perspective around this. The ASX 200 is trading around the same level it's been for 5 months. In mid-April, it was lower. For most of July, it was higher. But even after the sell-off in the past 2 sessions, it's around where it's been for most of this year. Tech stocks have led the falls. Yet, for 2024, the tech index on the ASX 200 is easily the best performer, up 20%. We're not in the middle of a GFC. We're not in the middle of a 1987 collapse. We are in a sell-off, but we are not in a correction as yet.
All right, on to story number 2 now. And ASIO, the country's top spy agency, has raised the national terrorism threat level to probable for the first time since 2022.
The growth of radical political and religious ideologies and 8 recent alleged terrorist incidents in Australia triggered the shift, though there is no imminent attack expected. Previously, it was raised to this level back in 2014 alongside the rise of Islamic State. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese yesterday said there'd been a global rise in politically motivated violence and extremists, and governments around the world are concerned about youth radicalisation, online radicalisation, and the rise of new mixed ideologies. ASIO Chief Mike Burgess said Australia's security environment has become more volatile and unpredictable, and people are being radicalised more quickly and are more willing to use violence to advance their cause.
Story number 3, another big one. The Reserve Bank Board meets today, Sean, and while pretty much everyone thinks there'll be no shift in interest rates, there's going to be an awful lot of attention on what the board has to say about inflation and about how well the economy is travelling.
The moves in financial markets in recent days, alongside last week's slightly lower than expected underlying inflation figures in Australia, will cull any thought of a rate rise at the meeting. In all likelihood, the bank will say that the next move in interest rates could be either way and will be data dependent. Mind you, I wouldn't be surprised if Governor Michelle Bullock sounds just a little bit more open to a rate cut in her press conference.
But there's no chance of a rate cut actually happening today?
No, I don't think so. Having said that, Ross Gittin has been writing about economics for The Age and the Sydney Morning Herald for more than 40 years. There was a period when people read Ross to get an idea of what the Reserve Bank might do. He's had a remarkable record of getting it right. Yesterday, he wrote a piece based on an Australian Council of Social Service briefing note that said if the central bank is serious about maintaining full employment, it needs to start cutting official interest rates as soon as possible. He didn't say they're going to. He just inferred they should. Just worth noting.
Story number 4, Woodside Energy's $30 billion Browse development north of Broome is at risk after the Western Australian Environmental Protection Agency rejected the project.
The decision is preliminary and Woodside will continue to negotiate for approval. Woodside's developing Browse with BP, PetroChina and Japan's Mitsui and Mitsubishi. Production was expected to start in 2026. The EPA is concerned about threats to the pygmy blue whale and the green turtle nesting sites and the risk of oil spills near the Scott Reef. Most of the considerable environmental activism against the Browse project so far has focused on carbon emissions. Western Australian Premier Roger Cook yesterday said he expects Woodside and the state's EPA to work together on the matter.
All right, last one. Story number 5. Sales of hybrid vehicles last month were nearly 90% higher than a year earlier, whereas sales of full battery EVs are losing market share.
Yeah, hybrid vehicles are up 88.4% July on July. Plug-in hybrids are up 129% compared to a year earlier. The Toyota RAV4 is now the number one selling vehicle. Most of the RAV4s are hybrids. More RAV4s were sold than Ford Rangers and Toyota Hiluxes. The data suggests that Tesla sales so far in 2024 are sharply lower. Same deal with Polestar. Excluding Tesla and Polestar, the total number of units sold for the month of July was just under 100,000.
All right, there we go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It is Tuesday, the 6th of August, 2024. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. And if 5 minutes isn't enough, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed wherever you listen to podcasts, or at fearandgreed.com.au, which is also where you can sign up for our free weekly newsletter, which comes out tomorrow. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.